This one, we're going to clean up some screen garbage and a few other things. So I'm going to open the one that I have on the screen just so you can see what happens when it opens. And a lot of people, when they make a skirt or further on when we're working on our final project, you don't really think about what happens with the choices you make. So this is my screen garbage example, and it's complaining and saying that it's bad, and I know that and I need to look at it to fix it, so I'm going to say okay. So it appeared up here, and when I tried to open it again, it got mad and I put it out here. So I'm going to leave this as the one I'm going to fix. Edit annotation. And I'm going to change this to fixed. And then I'm going to rename it. Okay, so it really hates this piece. And do I want to cancel saving? No, I want to save the piece anyway, because if I don't save it, I can't see it to fix it. So I'm actually going to put this one in the menu. Lots of not liking. Okay, so you can see down here where it's not looking right. It's got screen garbage, and sometimes the pieces will have extra lines sitting on top of each other, and I've talked about that before. But the way the computer understands a piece is that it has to have at least 3 lines in it to be a plane rather than just a line. So a line is determined by 2 points and a plane is determined by 3, but the way the computer understands it, those 3 lines have to be connected. So 3 points have to be connected by 3 lines, so it's a plane. So if you try to merge the lines or combine the lines so that there are less than 3 lines in the piece, it doesn't recognize it as a piece anymore and it won't do it. So because I want to combine these 2 lines to see if I can fix the problem, and if you zoom in really tight, you can see that these 2 lines cross over each other. You don't really need seam allowance coming clear out this far, so I need to get rid of this point and delete it, but I can't because it's the end point of a line. So I'm going to come up here to where the 2 lines cross over each other and they actually meet for the first time, and I'm just going to mark that area so that it's easier for me to see. So I'm going to go into create 2 point, and I'm just going to draw a line right there just as a reference. And because I'm going to merge this, I need to split this line into 2 sections. So I'm going into modify line split. Oh, and I didn't mean to do that. I split it on the seam allowance and it will only split on a solid, but then it splits both. So now I'm going to have 1 line, 2, 3 lines, and it will still recognize it as a plane. Okay, so now I can come up to combine, and going clockwise in an order, I'm going to combine this line with this one. And that one was a pretty easy fix. It's still got a mess right here, so that you can see what's happening, I'm going to come up here to View, Intermediate Points. I'm going to touch the piece and right click and say OK, and you can see where all of the intermediate points are on the piece. The end point of a line is that upwards triangle, and the intermediate points that are retaining the curve shape are the little squares. And I need to get rid of some of those little squares. So I'm going to switch it back so that the seam allowance is back on the outside instead of the perimeter line being on the outside. So that's in Advanced. Seam Swap. I'll just choose it again. It's not happy, and you can see it's even less happy now than it was before. So I'm going to delete all of these little intermediate points that don't belong there, and I'm going to have to put in some intermediate points up here later. So modify, delete point. Okay, so if I try to delete this one, it's going to go too far back, and I don't want it clear back there, so I'm going to undo. And if you can master not creating screen garbage in the first place, you will be so much further ahead. This is the kind of thing people usually do during their final project segment of class, and we always figure it out, but you just need to be calm and I'm so careful with my pieces now, I don't typically get any screen garbage to begin with. You're only getting it because you're beginners. So I'm going to come in right here and split this line because I want this to become part of the piece. So modify line split. I'm coming down the line to my reference line. Touch, hold, slide, and release. So now I can delete that point because it's not the end point of a line. If it was the end point of a line, I couldn't delete it. That's why I had to merge it, was so that it would become an intermediate point that's deletable. But keep in mind, you're not going to keep doing these things. We're learning how to avoid that. Okay, combine. No, delete. Delete point. And now we've got a line right there, and it's just so happy. Delete line. Now, if I had an intermediate point clear over here, I'd probably have to delete that too, because if it's too close together, then that can become a problem, but that's looking okay. So I'm going to go back up to Advanced Seam Swap and choose the piece again, and it's just fine now. And if I want to, I can miter that section off. This is not double well, I'll try mitered, but you have less control over it. Select a corner to make a miter corner. Oh, that's fine. So it's just coming in, and I'll cut it off. So I want at least 1/4 of an inch around it, but that was too much. And then I'm also going to merge this line back together. Modify line, combine, excuse me, it's combine the line together. And I've got intermediate points there now, and I don't need that. It wasn't there before, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that intermediate point, because the line stays straight when there's no intermediate point there. So here's the example of a piece that the computer really hates, and here's the example of the piece fixed. So I'm going to try saving it to make sure that it is actually happy. I want to overwrite it. So I'm going to save these in a model in case we need to come back to screen garbage. So File, Create, Edit, Model, Add Pieces. Okay, and I'm putting them both in. And it gives me my list, and I tell it okay. And now I've got something else about these pieces that I really don't like, and that's how the grain line overlaps the line, and it's hard to tell if you have an extra line there that doesn't belong. So I'm going to shorten it a little bit, and you have to be careful with grain lines because it's what the piece is based on, and you can't change everything about them, but we can go up to Modify Line Adjust, touch the line, and shorten it like we can do to any other internal line. So you just choose the end you want to shorten and shorten it. So select a line to change the length, touch the line, highlight the end you want to move, touch and release, touch the line, touch the end you want to shorten, move it, set it down. And if I wanted to, I could save both of the pieces, but it's going to be really mean to me about this piece. Do you want to cancel saving the piece? No. So when you have pieces like that, if you want to save them and tell me about it, I will help you out with it and make a video the next time I'm in to check homework. Don't forget to label your pieces.